All right, today we're going to learn how to find the area of a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a shape that looks like this. That's the most regular looking one. However, it also could look like this, where like one of those sides is like straight instead of slanted out. Both of the sides can't be straight because then it would end up just like being a rectangle or a square. So usually one of the sides is angled out or both of them from that like side. Okay, so that's what a trapezoid looks like. I'm going to show you two different ways that we're going to find the area of a trapezoid today. The first one is to break it up into shapes that we already know how to find the area of. Okay, so if we go down here, what shapes that we've already learned how to find the area of can we break this trapezoid up into? And then go ahead and try to show it on these trapezoids. Okay, so like for example, I would break this one up into a rectangle and two triangles. For this one, I would break it up into like a rectangle and one triangle. And then again for this one, I'd break it up into a rectangle and two triangles. Now remember, those two triangles are not always the same size. Okay, these two triangles are not always the same size. So you have to pay attention to like the dimensions and the measurements that they give you. Okay. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is to use the formula. Now this formula is not as easy to remember as like a parallelogram, a rectangle, a triangle. So that's why I'm going to show you those two different ways to do it, because sometimes we're not going to remember how to do the formula and I want you to still have a way to solve it. But sometimes we're not given all the correct measurements, so we can't solve it by breaking it up. So the formula for the area of a trapezoid is area equals 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. Okay. So that's, like I said, that's going to be a tricky one to remember. But if you can catch on to the hang of it, this is the easier way to do it. But I'll show you the different ways to do it. If we were to show our work for just using the formula, we just show the 3 steps. Show our steps of our formula, then with the numbers of the height, numbers of the base, and then the answer. If we were to show it with shapes, there's going to be more steps that we'll do down here. When I say base 1 and base 2 in that trapezoid, this is base 1, this is base 2, and then that height is going to be like that distance from the bases to the other base, from one base to the other base. Okay. If we're going to break it up into different shapes now, it's going to be a little different. So like for example, for this one, we'd have to break it up into 3 different shapes. So we'd have to find the area of 3 different shapes. This one, we'd have to break it up into 2 different shapes. Again, this one would be 3. So write the name or number of the shape. I want you to number them just like I did. So like if you were to solve it by breaking it up, I want you to number it like this is shape 1, 2, and 3. That way I know what your work is showing your work for. Okay. Write the formula for that shape, substitute in the base and the height numbers. Write your answer with the correct label. All right. Let's do this first one, breaking it up. I want everyone to do it breaking it up. We'll do the next one with the formula, but let's do this first one just breaking it up. So I've got 3 different shapes. I'm going to use different colors. So I've got a red triangle. I'm going to call that triangle 1. I've got a green square. I'm going to call that shape 2. And then I've got a blue triangle. I'm going to call that shape 3. Okay. You do not have to use different colors. As long as you number them, that's good enough for me. So let's start with shape 1. Shape 1 is a triangle. The formula for a triangle is base times height, and then divided by 2, or times 1/2, whichever one you like better. Our base is 3, our height is 5 for that triangle. 3 times 5. So 3 times 5 divided by 2. That would be 15 divided by 2, 7.5. If we weren't sure what 15 divided by 2 is, we'd just put it in a division box. 2 can go into 1 0 times. 2 can go into 15 7 times. That would be 14. We've got 1, add a decimal, add a 0, bring it down. That's how we would get the 7.5. Okay, number 2 is just a rectangle or a square. So base times height, 5 times 5, 25. Okay. Shape 3 is another triangle. I've got base times height and then divided by 2 or times 1/2, whichever one you want. The main step for using this formula is really for triangles, honestly. It's so that you don't forget to divide by 2, because if you always write the formula down first and you're thinking, okay, it's a triangle, what do I do to find a triangle? That way, because the biggest mistake I would see students make when finding an area is for triangles, they forget to divide by 2. So base times height, base is 4, height is 5. 4 times 5 is 20, divided by 2, 10. Last step, I have to take each one of those areas, and to get the area of the whole shape, I have to add them together. So that I have this area plus this area plus this area equals that whole shape. All right, so I'd have 25, 10, and 7.5. Make sure we would line up those decimals. We can add like a 0.0 to that 25 and that 10. 5 plus 0 plus 0, 5. Bring down our decimal. 7 plus 5 is 12. 2 plus 2 is 4. The answer would be 42.5 centimeters squared. Okay, that's how we find it breaking it up. I know it's a lot of work. Okay, so now let me show you using the formula. We'll start with this one. So remember, our formula is 1/2 times the height of base 1 plus base 2. Okay, in this trapezoid, base 1 is 5, base 2 is 8, and our height going straight up and down from the top to bottom is represented with this 4. Oops. Okay, so now my next step would be to substitute in those numbers instead of the letters. So I'd have 1/2 times 4 times, sorry about that, black. Base 1 is 5 plus base 2 is 8. Now we have to use Pemdas. Do those parentheses first. So 5 plus 8, 13. So we'd have 1/2 times 4 times, and I'm just going to put it in red, but it's that red and green piece right here, 13. All right, 1/2 times 4, 2. 2 times 13, 26 meters squared. Okay. If we wanted to break this up, we would break it here. Now remember, 8 is this whole distance of the bottom. If this right here is our rectangle, whatever's on the top would be on the bottom. So this piece right here would be 5. If the whole thing's 8 and this piece for the rectangle is 5, that would mean for the triangle it would be 3. We'd also have to be careful for that triangle to use the height, not the side length. So we'd have 3 times 4 divided by 2, that would be 6. 5 times 4 is 20. So notice how we would also get 26. Okay. Let's do one more together, and then I want you to do a couple on your own to pause the video. If you're feeling comfortable, you are more than welcome to pause the video now and just use the video to check your answers, but make sure that you are checking them. All right, so I'm just going to keep using the formula. I think it's easiest. If you like to break it up, that's fine. Just make sure you're getting the same number that I'm getting. Okay, so I would have my formula as my first step, and I'm just going to erase this because I kind of went into the space for it. So 1/2 times height of base 1 plus base 2. My height is 6. Base 1 is 9.5. Base 2, I don't know that distance, so I'm going to have to figure that out. Okay, so I'd have to do 1/2 times my height, which we said was 6, and my base 1, 9.5, plus my base 2. Now here's where we have to do some math. So this piece right here is 3. This piece right here is 3. We need to know, I'll do it in purple, what this piece right here is in order to get that whole entire base. Well, I know in a rectangle, whatever's on the bottom is also on the top. So since the top is 9.5, I know this distance right here is 9.5. So if I add these three numbers together, I'm going to get that whole distance of the base right there. So I'd have 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 9 is 15, plus the 0.5 is 15.5. I'd have to go ahead and do my parentheses first, following order of operations. I would add my 2 halves together, that equals 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 plus 15, 25. You could keep the parentheses, you don't need them. As long as we put a times sign in, we're good to go. Times 6 times 1/2. All right, so now we just go left, right. 1/2 of 6 is 3. 3 times 25 is 75 feet squared. Okay. Like I said, we could have also broken it up into a rectangle and 2 triangles and added them all together. All right. I want you to go ahead and pause the video. If you want your work to match mine, use the formula. If you don't care about our work matching and you just want to make sure that you're getting the right answer because you like to break them up instead, totally fine. Just know that our work is not going to match because I'm going to use the formula. But go ahead, pause the video, try these on your own, and then resume the video after you're done with number 2 to make sure you got number 2 right. Right, so if you're here with me now, we should have already completed number 2. If not, pause the video and do that now. Like I said, I am going to use the formula, so 1/2 times height of base 1 plus base 2. And remember, a number next to a parentheses means times, so that does mean times there. All right, height is 11. I've got my times 1/2 in the front. I've got my parentheses. I've got my base 1, 16. I've got my base 2, but I don't know that whole distance. I know that this piece right here is 7. So if I want the whole thing, I need to know what this piece right here is. And I know in a rectangle, whatever's on the bottom is on the top. So I know that that piece is 16. This piece is 7. So 7 plus 16 would be 23. It's supposed to be a plus. All right, next we would do parentheses. 16 plus 23 is 39. One half of 11 is 5.5. Again, if I didn't know that, I could take 11 divided by 2. Add decimal, bring a 0 down. 5.5 times 39. At this point, I would also stack those. So 39 times 5.5. When I multiply, I do not need to line up decimals because remember, I just count how many numbers are after the decimal and move it in at the end. 9 times 5 is 45. 45. I have one number after the decimal here. I have no numbers after a decimal here, so I should have one number after a decimal here. And my final answer should be 214.5 yards squared. Make sure we're circling that answer because look at how messy all this work gets. Make sure you circle that final answer. All right. If you haven't already, pause the video, try number 3, and then resume the video to check. Again, I'm going to use that formula, so if you want your work to match mine, use the formula. If not, that's fine. Just check to make sure our answers match at the end. All right. 1/2 times height times base 1 plus base 2. We'd have 1/2 times 7. Base 1 is 12. Base 2, I've got to do some math. This piece is 4, this piece is 4, so far that's 8. This middle piece right here would be 12 because whatever is on the top is also on the bottom of a rectangle, so this would be 12. 12 plus 8 is 20. So to get that whole length, I would just add all those little pieces. My 4 here, my 4 here, and my 12 right here. Parentheses first, 20 plus 12 is 32 times 7 times 1/2. Now here's something that I'm going to show you that you can do to help you out. You could do 1/2 of 7, get 3.5, and multiply 32 times 3.5. Totally fine. You can also take 1/2 of any number. So instead of taking 1/2 of 7, I can take 1/2 of 32. Since 32 is an even number, it's going to make sure that I don't have to use decimals. So I'll take 1/2 of 32. I know that that is 16. So now I can do 16 times 7. When I stack those up, I will get 112 feet squared. If I took 1/2 of 7 and I did 3.5 times 32, I'm going to end up with this same answer. 5 times 2 is 10, 6, 7. 3 times 5 is 15, 9, 10, 0, 12, 1, 1. One number after a decimal, no numbers after a decimal, one number after a decimal. So either way, I'm going to end up with 112. Just notice how much faster that this one took me. So when you have a 1/2 or a divide by 2 and it's all being multiplied, you can switch the order, because remember with multiplication we can switch the order. So 1/2 times 7 times 32 is the same as 1/2 times 32 times 7. So you can kind of switch that order to take half of the even number so that you don't have to deal with decimals. All right, and that is how we find the area of trapezoids.